Hey there everybody, it's Austin Bach and we're back. We are doing the Legacy Cube here in Magic Online, which just opened up yesterday. A couple drafts into this format already, and I think it's actually remarkably similar to the Modern Cube. It's very mid-range oriented, shares a lot of the same cards, and I don't think it's a format where you're really incentivized to do anything too busted, which I'm a fan of. You're kind of forced to do fair things and play normal Magic essentially, which I like. It's a good mix-up from normal like vintage cube, where it's just all about putting together the most busted combos you can and whatnot. So I think cards like Planeswalkers are a lot better than usual, and I think cards like Show and Tell are a lot worse. Although this pack is pretty weak, to be fair. Nahiri's a fine Planeswalker, but she's in red-white, which is not a color combo I like. I like Elvish Mystic, but I don't think the just green, like, mana dorks and 8 drops is really the best plan. So even though I just got done with that whole spiel about how this is more of a mid-range format, I am going to take Show and Tell, because it's the most powerful card here. Here we can take... Woodfall Primus is powerful. What else do we have? We have a couple of decent Planeswalkers. For some reason their images aren't loading. Master of Waves. I do know that Devotion is a semi-supported theme in this cube. There's cards like Nightveil Spectre and Thassa, the God, so we could do that, but it doesn't really fit with the Show and Tell plan, whereas a card like Woodfall Primus does. If I'd known that I was taking Woodfall Primus, I would have taken probably Elvish Mystic out of the last pack, but this is still a nice card to put into play on turn 2 or 3. So I'm probably just going to take that here over pretty much nothing else. None of these cards really excite me. Like, both these Planeswalkers are good, but not great. They're not cards that are going to take over a game. They're just good value cards. Which is, not a bad thing, but not really what I'm looking for very early in the pack, because usually in cubes you have no problem finding just marginal value cards. You want to take the higher priority, more powerful cards first. Fill up the deck with value later. I do think Negate is rather good in this cube. Carnage Tyrant, that's interesting. Doesn't seem that great, but it's not bad either. Mind Stone is good, just generically. Faith's Fetters is pretty good also. Good generic removal is important. Dread Return, it's a good card. Maybe we can go for like a blue-black Reanimator Show and Tell deck. It's not a horrible plan. Although, I have tried it. I actually tried it in my last draft, like a blue-black Reanimator deck. It didn't quite work like I wanted to, because you don't really want to be playing dead cards like discard outlets that don't have any other function or anything like that, because, usually you're just going to get up to enough mana to cast your big stuff anyway. But, we'll see what happens. Ooh, this is an interesting pack. Some decent Planeswalkers. Well, 2 decent Planeswalkers and Chandra, which is fine but not exciting. Bone Shredder is one of my favorite cards in a blue-black Reanimator shell. It combos with cards like Recurring Nightmare really well. It's just a good roadblock to get you on your way up to your more powerful engine on the top end. So I do like taking that here. I also like Lingering Souls. Just if we're going for a value package, this is not a bad option to have. Probably not quite powerful enough though. Even though this is a value format, you do still need to be doing powerful things. And just 3 mana for 2 1/1 flyers is not really where you want to be. I also like Revel Arc, but not better than Bone Shredder, I don't think. I like it with cards like Bone Shredder though, so we'll keep that in mind. Ooh, Recurring Nightmare, okay. So I guess we're doing that, because this is the card you want to build around when you're doing the the blue-black Reanimator thing. And the reason that's the case is because this is, well, as it's in the name, it's recurring. You can do it multiple times, and you don't have to just like spend all your resources on one Reanimator spell and then it gets removed and then the game goes on. But this card just combos well with a good mid-range value engine. You can just play good cards like, even Ophiomancer if we have to. So you don't have to be all in on the fatty plan for this card to be good. Unlike a card like Dread Return, where you kind of want to be doing the fatty thing, which is why I don't love taking cards like Dread Return early. I also like Chart a Course. Usually the problem with blue-black decks is that you need the good discard outlets. Here's a Ludoril Core, which I'm probably just going to take here. You really need to prioritize these, because they do have tons of effects like Dread Return, Recurring Nightmare, but I don't think there's enough good looting effects that you actually want to play. There's some bad ones, like Putrid Imp and that kind of thing, but I don't want to put those cards in my deck generally. If that wasn't here, I would probably take something like Glacial Fortress, maybe Crux of Fate or Oblivion Ring, I don't know. It seems pretty clearly what we're doing though. Huh. I do like Careful Consideration. That's a pretty decent discard outlet. Dark Petition's also interesting. Combos well with Recurring Nightmare, assuming we have a spell-heavy deck, because you do want to have Spell Mastery, or this is just not quite efficient enough. So I think I'm just going to take Careful Consideration, because, like I said, you want to put a higher premium on the discard outlets. Here's a Makeshift Mannequin. See, we already have, we have access to 3 Reanimator effects already, and only 2 discard outlets. And you really want to have more of the outlets than the Reanimators. What does this card do? I don't even know. Why is that here? I don't even know how many artifacts there are in this cube. I haven't seen very many. But let's take Makeshift Mannequin. Grey Merchant, not really where we want to be. Dromoka's interesting. I don't know if I quite classify it as a fatty. You know, it's fine to like get into play on turn 4 with a Makeshift Mannequin or whatever, but that's not even like that powerful. It's just like a 2 mana reduction. It just seems like not great value. I'd rather be getting back even bigger things. 8 or 9 drops is really where I really want to be with these cards, but I guess I'll still take it because there's really nothing else here I want. Well, there's a Force Spike, which I actually probably will play. I do like Force Spike more than most people. I like Volrath Stronghold as well. Again, like I said, there's plenty of good ways to interact with creatures in your graveyard. There's just not enough good ways to put them in your graveyard. Like, already we have, what, 4? And we have 2 discard outlets, so I'm going to be looking to prioritize cards like Jace Vryn's Prodigy is the one that I like the most out of the cheap discard outlets. Charted Course also, but it depends on if we get that back, which we might not. Here I'm definitely taking Scrubland. I don't hate all these cards. I think I'm going to take Inquisition, though. Actually, no, I'm going to take I think I'd take Freebooter. It probably goes best with what we have going on. We are going to want to have creatures for Recurring Nightmare. Ooh, Charted Course came back. Perfect. So we are going to have we're going to want to have, wow, and Dark Petition. And I'm just losing my train of thought left and right. We're going to want to have cheap creatures lying around in order to keep feeding this Recurring Nightmare. And Freebooter does that, and also helps clear the way for our combo if our opponent has interaction of any kind. Ooh, this pack is interesting. I like Fact or Fiction a lot. It's very similar to Careful Consideration, just a slightly better version of it. Una's Prowler is a cheap discard outlet, but it's one of the bad ones I was talking about that I don't really want to play. Manowar is also pretty good. That's a good cheap creature that I would be happy to put in my deck. Just a mid-range value card that helps buy me time and sets up a Recurring Nightmare later. Fact or Fiction I think is just too powerful to pass up on though. And we have a pretty good shell for it right now. So we do need to at some point pick up a few more fatties, because it's not like we're guaranteed to get them. I just haven't seen any worth taking yet. But that is high on my bucket list, don't worry. Ooh, here's a couple. Angel of Serenity and Terrastodon. Ooh, but there's also a Shriekmaw. Man, and a Merfolk Looter. This pack is phenomenal for us. I would be happy taking probably like 5 of these cards, maybe even 6 with the Ancient Tomb. I think there's a pretty decent chance we get this Merfolk Looter back, though. We got the Charted Course back, so clearly no one else is doing what we're doing. And not many decks are going to want Merfolk Looter. I think I have to take Shriekmaw. This is like the perfect card for us. Even though I would love an Angel Serenity or a Terrastodon, like we could get one of these back, you never know. And even if I don't, I get a Merfolk Looter back, but Shriekmaw is just the perfect card. The perfect combo with Recurring Nightmare. It's just a good creature to reanimate early if we have nothing else going on. Interacts with your opponent. It's everything I want. Man, why do all the good packs have to be clumped up? Now this pack doesn't really have anything I want. I mean, Liliana's fine. It's another way to interact with the graveyard, I guess, and fill up the graveyard too with the self-mill. Craterhoof is a fatty we could play, but I guess if I had the Lingering Souls that we saw earlier, it would look a little better right now, but I'm just going to take the Liliana. Counterspell, Obstructionist, Distended Mindbender. That doesn't quite work with reanimation. I mean, we could, but it's just a vanilla 5/5. You don't get the effect unless you cast it. Or I could take Nimble Obstructionist. I don't really want to take this Exhume, because I already have plenty of good ways to interact with the graveyard. I don't have enough good ways to, like, we need creatures at this point, and more discard outlets. I don't really care for any of these cards, though. I think Exhume is the only one that is really on theme for us. So I'm not happy about it, but I'll take it. Liliana is another way to reanimate. This is exactly what I was talking about. Just we have infinite ways to reanimate creatures, not enough ways to get them in the yard, or the creatures to put in the yard. Kokusho. So Kokusho and whatever the blue dragon is called are cards that I really like playing with Recurring Nightmare. You can set up some sweet infinite loops with them. I mean, not quite infinite, like you still have to pay the 3 mana and all that, but getting the death triggers on those repeatedly is pretty strong. Ulamog is good. I mean, we can just get it back with a show and tell or whatever. Or with a reanimation spell. I might just have to take that here, because I am kind of hurting for the fatties. There's a Massacre Worm. I like that card. John Catacomb I'd be happy with also, but I want to make sure I have enough at the top end, because I don't really have one at this point. Ooh, I like Gifts Ungiven. I would like it more if I had an Unburial Rites, but you never know, we could get one later. I like Buried Alive too, though. That might actually be more important at this point. But I mean, Gifts Ungiven is basically the same thing, but it just is more flexible. And we also have several instants that do a similar thing, which is actually a plus, not a negative, because you can hold up your mana and represent multiple things. So I think I'm going to take the gifts. Hopefully get a Unburial Rites later. Liliana's yet another way to interact with the graveyard. I'm kind of looking at Duress and Read the Bones, though. I think I like... We have a lot of card advantage already. Maybe I don't really need Read the Bones. Maybe I'd rather have a Duress. Because I do want to have as much cheap interaction as I can get my hands on. Or at least have the option to have access to them. I'm going to take Manowar over Una's Prowler, because this card I think is just too bad. Manowar I'm actually pretty happy to have in my deck, though. Did we already see the pack that had the Merfolk Looter in it? I think it might be coming up. That'd be interesting if we didn't get it back, though. I mean, there are some blue decks that would still play it. It's just not very efficient, unless you're specifically doing stuff that cares about the graveyard. That pack also had like the Angel of Serenity and the Terastodon, which either one of those I'd be very happy with at this point. Yep, there's the Angel of Serenity, which I'm taking. Looks like someone did indeed take that Merfolk Looter, but I'm happy enough with the Angel, even though we can't cast it. So now we're just going to be needing ways to discard. Bayou will be nice if we get like a Misty Rainforest. Oh, both of these cards I was thinking about taking earlier. I'll take the Obstructionist, put it in my board. Although the value of a flash creature does go up slightly when we have all these instants in our deck, so I'll keep that in mind. I guess I'll put it in the main for now. And more reanimation spells. So now I don't even think I'm playing this Exhume. John Catacomb coming back is nice, though. Well, the one clear thing is we're basically the only people on this plan. Jeez, are you kidding me? Yeah, that should solidify it. Alright, what do we have here? Tetsamok's in this cube, huh? Karn is the best card, for sure. Generally in mid-range, low-powered cubes like this, Karn is generally one of the better cards. I'm looking at this Thirst for Knowledge, though, because we need the discard outlet. I don't know if that's correct, but I'm going to do it. Just because at this point we're so all in that we need to make sure that we have enough discard outlets to get rid of these fatties and get them into play as soon as possible. We're going to have a lot of playables too. Alright, what do we have here? Tasigur is okay. Control Magic is quite good in certain matchups. And then some other stuff that's not really that important. I think it's just between Tasigur and Control Magic. Tasigur is not awful. It is good if we have lots of just random stuff hanging out in our yard that we don't need to worry about. Just a good, not only does it fill our yard, but it just gives us some long-term advantage. How much interaction do we have with our opponent's creatures? We have like Angel of Serenity, Massacre Worm, Shriek Maw, Man of War, I guess. I think we might be okay. I'll take Tasigur. Control Magic isn't really on theme. Tasigur I think is cheap enough and is slightly tangentially good enough with our plan that it's worth taking. Compulsive Research is another discard outlet, so that can kind of shore up that plan. Or I can take a Doomblade. I think I like Doomblade here, because I do want some interaction. There's a good chance we even wheel this Compulsive Research. I don't like Razaketh very much. He just doesn't do enough. I mean, we can like play him, we can get him into play, pay 4 life, and then get like an Angel plus a discard outlet, and then like reanimate it right away or something. There's something to that. Maybe I should just take it, because I would like probably one more fatty at least. And then good chance we wheel either one of these. These cards weren't super high on my list. Nothing here I really care about. Just a generic Planeswalker, which I can, I guess, side in like a matchup where we just want sticky threats. I could take Isolate a Chapel in the hopes that I get past an Unburial Rites later in this pack. But there's only 4 cards left. Doesn't seem super likely. And there are some matchups where Obnick's list does seem pretty great. Nothing here I want, really. Don't love Scrap Heap Scrounger, because we do want blockers out of our cheap spells. Thassa, not really where we want to be either. Remand, meh. Yeah, I don't think I'm playing any of these. I'll just take Remand. It's an option at least. We're going to have to make some cuts. I already don't think I'm playing this Force Spike, so I'm most likely not playing whatever it's called. What, I just take Remand? Emrakul. That works with Show and Tell. It also works with Makeshift Mannequin. It does not work with any of the other discard outlet or any of the other reanimation spells though, because of the Shuffle Clause. Is that worth it, or should I just take a Shelduck Isle? I feel like I should just take Emrakul. I don't know if that's correct. I don't know if we have enough for it. Yeah, what's the worst that could happen, right? The upside is there for sure. Ooh, there's a lot of good cards for me here. Frost Titan, Skin Render, Phyrexian Rager, all of them I'd be very happy with. I think Frost Titan actually at this point. That definitely shores up my top end. Keiga, alright, perfect. There's also Dark Ritual, but Keiga is the one I was talking about earlier that works really well with Recurring Nightmare, so I'm going to take that here. Seachrome Coast, but again, we didn't see the Unburial Rites, so I'll just take Tetsamok and not play him. It's not quite good enough. So I guess now I don't play the Emrakul because we picked up 2 other good, solid top-end cards. And this is kind of what I meant earlier. We don't really need to go all in on the just like the over-the-top plan. We just have a good mid-range deck with a little bit of extra value with all of the discard effects. Don't know if I love Buried Alive either. Don't even know if I love Dread Return. We don't have enough real cheap creatures that we can get the full value out of it. I don't even know if I'm playing this Necromancy. Probably not. I mean, it does. We can cast it with Flash, which is a plus side because we actually have a fair amount of instant speed interplay. So I guess I'm taking it over into the Royal. So I'm pretty happy with this deck. Definitely need to make a bunch of cuts though. We're at 29 playables. The one concern I have now is, do we have enough cheap creatures to get this Recurring Nightmare going? Doomblade, sure. Get the Scrubland out of here. So yeah, we need to kind of have a look at our deck laid out and make some decisions here. I'm looking at Dark Petition as a potential cut. I might even consider cutting one of these top-end cards, like maybe the Ulamog, because Ulamog doesn't give me any immediate value when we reanimate him. I mean, he's one of the better cards to have in play if we untap with him, but what I've learned is that, you know, with this sort of archetype, you want to be able to put stuff into play that immediately helps you catch back up, because you're invariably going to be behind once you're spending your time, you know, casting discard spells and tapping out for a reanimation spell, which is why I like these kind of cards better. Angel, Woodfall Primus, that kind of thing. So I might just end up cutting Ulamog, because I think we have enough fatties as is with these 6. Ooh, Skinrender came back. That's probably going to make my deck. Yeah, definitely have some decisions to make. 2 Lilianas I'm fine with. So what's my total reanimation count at this point? We have Necromancy, Recurring Nightmare, Makeshift Mannequin, Dread Return, Liliana. That's 5. Last Hope can also reanimate stuff. No, I'm thinking of I was thinking of the Flip Liliana, never mind. That was in my last deck. I got confused for a minute. But it can give me recurring value from the graveyard. So I think I'm fine with not playing anything like Exhume. I don't think I need it. And I'm also fine with not playing the Eldrazi, which feels weird when we're playing Show and Tell. It's possible that's wrong, but maybe it's just wrong to have Show and Tell in my deck to begin with. Who knows? Definitely gonna have to make a lot of cuts here. I want to get down to, I mean, I could consider running 16 land, but considering one of our lands is a Volrath Stronghold, I probably want to go up to 17. And we do want to get up to like 6 and 7 mana occasionally, because we're just going to be hard casting our spells. I'm very strongly considering cutting this Dread Return. We just don't have enough good, just as a 4 mana reanimation spell, it's pretty weak. And we don't have enough good cheap creatures to justify it, to consistently get the backside going. If one of our top end cards was like a Mere Battlesphere or something like that, I would like it more. Or if we had like a Lingering Souls, something like that, to justify it a little bit more. I don't think you really want to play this just for the front side. You know, it's more expensive than an Exhume, which I'm already not considering. I'm considering not playing. And I forgot to Show and Tell also basically counts as a reanimation spell. We can just reanimate something from our hand, essentially. We could consider cutting one of these. We can also consider cutting Buried Alive, because I actually ended up with a pretty good amount of discard. Let's see, we have Looter, Chart a Course, Thirst, all of these. Liliana can help mill. This Liliana can help mill. Tasker can help mill. I think that might be enough. Buried Alive is just straight card disadvantage, which I don't love, because I do think you have to worry about that kind of thing in this cube. Don't want to play Obstructionist, I don't think. Maybe I don't want to play Doomblade. We did get that Skinrender at the last second. We have a pretty good amount of creatures that can interact with our opponent's board. So maybe we should just spend our early turns maxing out on our setup stuff. So do I play this Duress, or do I cut it for my last cut? I'm happy playing all of these. I'm fine with playing the 2 off-color fatties because they're so good to reanimate or put into play with Show and Tell. I mean, Duress is the only card that really stands out to me as not being on theme. Everything else I think I want. So I think I'm going to cut it. We do have the Freebooter that can do a similar thing. So that's nice. We can like bring it in a matchup where our opponent's doing stuff that we need to interact with, like counter spells or something dumb like a, I don't know. We'll reevaluate, and then we can consider playing 16 land, but I think I want to make one more cut. Not sure what it is. The only thing I can think is like Gifts Ungiven. It's probably the weakest because we didn't end up with the Unburial Rites. There's not really I see it as very similar to Buried Alive. You know, giving your opponent the option, like, we don't really have, like, if we get an Angel of Serenity or Woodfall Primus in our pile, they're going to put it in our hand because we don't have access to that color of mana. And if we get like 2 fatties, 2 reanimation spells, then that just makes their decision easier as well. So it's kind of just like a divination in a way, a very slow divination, which I'm not a huge fan of. It's nice if we have a Liliana in play. I just don't know if we ended up with the right shell for it. I don't want to go too deep on the all-in combo stuff. I want to make sure I have a functional mid-range deck as well. Because there are going to be games where we just have to play a prolonged game, and in that case I don't really want to Gifts Ungiven in my deck. Right, so we don't need anything other than blue-black, so we'll just put those 2 lands in my deck. Don't need any plains or forests. 15 land, let's see, do I need more black or more blue? Looks like more black by quite a considerable margin. We only need double blue for the consideration, and then the Frost Titan, we have a pretty fair amount of double black. And I think this is going to be it. So we'll go ahead and submit this and be back for round 1.